What is up? What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the stream. And as you can tell from the name of this episode, I am determined. I am determined as all hell. I want a title this season specifically. I want to start with the division title. And things are not looking super great in that area right now. We are chasing the Dodgers 8 games back. But I think that if we make the right moves, we can possibly catch them. We look pretty good in the wild card position right now with a 1.5 game lead on the Cardinals for the second spot and a 2.5 game lead on the Giants. So I'm feeling pretty good right now. I have got quite a few big time moves lined up for this episode that I think are really going to push us hopefully over the top. But here, let's talk about how some of the guys have been playing. Brandon Nimmo continues to be a staple offense, so does Brendan Rodgers, although he has really not had a big power season this year. I think that's really coming mostly from struggles against right-handers because he has been killing it against lefties. You see that power against lefties all the way up to 95. Rafael Devers has been a certified stud. We are getting what we paid for, and I am happy about that. Jorge Soler has significantly heated up in the past couple weeks. He is now slugging 453, so well, try a bit disappointing. Like, you know, performing, increasing his performance to the past couple of years. So, not quite sure where this is coming from. We may look to get a little bit of outfield help at the deadline. We shall see. I think Michael Chavez has done fine in a full-time role. He hasn't quite done great hitting-wise against righties, but he's done enough to stay in that lineup right now. And he's absolutely smashed lefties. You see that slugging's over 515. Ryan Vilade looks decent. Power numbers like Larnack, not quite there. On base percentage, not his typical high performing self, but again, we may be needing to look for some outfield help because of these two guys. Mike Zunino, he heated up in recent weeks. He's got that slugging back over 400, and Jazz Chisholm has started to stabilize back at his typical performance. We don't see that. We don't see him near what he did last year, but he is doing quite well on the bench. Mejia has not been great, but Brad Miller has been phenomenal as a signing for us. Really like that slash line for him. Patrick Wisdom just hasn't quite gotten going all year, and then Corey Ray, not what we had hoped out of our bench bats. Have a little bit some weaknesses in the offense that we are going to need to look into at the trade deadline, and I have some trades I think you guys are going to like. So for the pitching staff, Corbin Burns continues to just mow down hitters. He's got that strikeout per nine at 11.18. FIP is not where I quite like it, but ERA is still under 4, so that's good. Tarek Skubal, honestly, is our ace. I mean, he's just been so good. At this rate, he's going to be starting wildcard game 1 of a division series, whatever. Sonny Gray has not quite performed up to par. FIP is still under 4, but the walk numbers are still causing him a lot of problems. Christian Javier has cooled off a little bit, but FIP is still down at 3.24, so he hasn't performed too bad. And Jordan Belazovic continues to perform at a high level, so I'm quite excited about that. We did get Hunter Green up into a long relief role. We sent down Nick Neidert, not because he was pitching poorly, just because I really wanted to get Hunter Green up into the majors, and he has performed admirably. The walk numbers are a little higher than I'd like, but everything else is in pretty good order, so I'm pretty happy with that. The rest of the bullpen, honestly, I mean, I'm not even going to worry too much about Justin Lawrence's ERA because his FIP is 2.85. So, yeah, I mean, this whole bullpen looks great. I mean, Jesus, Lucas Gilbreth is a 1.10 ERA with a 2.51 FIP. He may or may not be moved. We're not sure. I guess we'll just have to hang around for a couple more minutes to find out. So, taking a look down on the farm at some guys I like to keep an eye on. Reese Hines. He's kind of slipped a little bit, although his on-base percentage is still 346. I'm quite happy about that. Michael Toglia has slipped a little bit, but still with those 16 home runs, he's looking decent. Zach Bean has been super disappointing a lot. Ronnie Mauricio has picked it up in recent weeks, but the overall slash line on the season is not great, not pretty to look at. But yeah, my AAA team has been struggling all around. Looking down here at AA, guys, I want to look at Serrano, one of our offseason acquisitions as a prospect. He's doing okay. Richie Baez still hasn't gotten it going with the bat. Bobby Mobile looks pretty good, but not super great either. So we are not looking super great at really anywhere with the bat in our minor league guys. Let's move over to some of our starting pitchers. Noah Song has really hit a ice cold streak. Still decent numbers on the season, but not great. Matthew Thompson, again, same deal, and Chris Olivares. Ryan Rolison has been quite phenomenal in that long relief role in AAA. And then Sam Weatherly, he looks like a pretty good left-handed pitching bullpen option. Ryan Castellani, I mean, he's just down here to keep getting work, and he has performed well as well. Howard Fagan has looked pretty good. Like to see those strikeout numbers improve a little bit, but overall pitching performance has been good there. And then one guy I actually want to point out here is Robert Broom. We picked him up in the offseason just kind of as a speculative ad, and he has been filthy down here in AA. We're going to try to get him up to AAA as soon as possible, but I think this could be a long-term depth option for our bullpen, so I like that. So, I am trying to focus on really mainly I want to try to get a little bit better performance out of my outfield position, so that's going to be one of my main focuses. I'm also going to probably look to try to improve my catcher. I mean, Zunino's been fine, but he's performing more like a bench bat. He's a fine starter, but I could always look to be improving. There was one guy that I kind of locked in on that really I think is a blockbuster trade that I think could help put us over the edge. And then as far as pitching, I like our bullpen, but I would like a little bit more dominant lefty relievers. I know Yohan Ibar and Lucas Gilbreth have pretty good numbers, but their overalls and makeups worry me a little bit in the playoffs. So I want to get a little bit more dominant of a lefty arm and one more dominant arm in this bullpen. Somebody with a overall over 80, and I found somebody for that. So let's get the trades started. So the first guy I was looking to target, I looked around as who might be available in the outfield positions, and I actually found one of my more likable favorite, I don't know if I call him a favorite, but more likable players in the major leagues, and that's Brian Reynolds, a switch hitter from the Pittsburgh Pirates. Look at those numbers. I mean, great, strong average, great on base percentage, slugging over 500. This is a guy who can slot right in the middle of our lineup. Now he's going to be a free agent this offseason, but I'm looking to be aggressive and try to use him to win a title this year and, possibly re-sign him in the offseason as well. So he is going to cost quite a bit to get. And so I was looking at, I'm going to need to send him some top prospects. And I'm going to start with Zach Bean. He's woefully underperformed in our system, and that is disappointing, but he's still got 87 potential. He's already 68 overall, he's only 22, so this is a lot of value right away. I then looked at sending them. They are in need of some depth at the third base position because they do have Brian Hayes, but he's coming up on free agency soon. He also hasn't performed great as a major leaguer either, so they could use somebody to take over third base. And Ronnie Mauricio is only 21 years old. He's 71 overall. Hasn't performed great, but still, I think he's got 84, 85 potential, something like that. So this is another guy that they will quite like. And then the final guy that I'm going to send them is Ryan Rolison. Oh, and I'm a little bit frustrated because I had worked this trade out before, and they were liking it. So, well, okay. That is what I am going to make the trade. I am going to make this trade work off screen. I did work this trade out last night as I was playing around, and then I simmed 2 weeks. I don't know why suddenly it doesn't work, but I will make this trade work off screen. I'll probably up the potential on somebody to make sure it goes through because I know that this trade is good. It's a good trade for them, and if I could give one more player to put it over the top, I would. You see that bar is basically filled. So, that's a disappointing start to this whole thing. But anyways, moving on. So we are going to acquire Brian Reynolds, who's going to be quite a coup for us to acquire for them. Now, to look at our catcher position, I was looking around at guys I could possibly acquire for a catcher, and I found JT Realmuto. Top-notch defensive catcher, decent batting numbers across the board. Not great, but decent. And under contract for one more season after this as well. So, to get this one done, I need to send the Phillies some starting pitching because their starting pitching depth and top guys not super pretty. So I started out with Matthew Thompson, who has not performed very well for us, but he's got like 84 potential. He's only 22 years old. Maybe they can capture lightning in a bottle from him. I don't know. The next guy I'm going to send them was Noah Song, who had been performing pretty well to this point of the season. He's 26 years old, so he's a little older on the prospect side, but I think he's got 80, 81 potential. So a guy that would interest them. He's almost MLB ready. He actually is MLB ready at 73 overall. So somebody that they can use right away and has some upside left as well. And then to just give them a little bit of a sweetener, I am going to send them Michael Toglia because they don't really have any long-term options at first base, and Toglia had been performing quite well. He's having a decent season overall at AAA, so I think that this is a guy that they would be interested in. He's got like 78 or 79 potential, so it's a guy that they could slot into first base pretty much right now. He's already on the 40-man roster, so they can use him right away. So I'm happy to land JT Realmuto because that's going to help my lineup and my catching position. So, all right, looking into relief pitchers. I said I wanted to go after a pretty high-end reliever with something over 80 overall, and if he could be a lefty, that would be great as well. And I'm going to go after Tanner Scott, who is former Oriole reliever, who is now on the Seattle Mariners. And looking at his numbers, he has been very good this year. He struggles a little bit in the walk department, but he strikes out a lot of hitters, does not give up a lot of home runs, and he does not give up a lot of hits. This is a guy who's got some filthy stuff. And I'm going to go get him. And to acquire him, I am going to start by sending Ezekiel Tovar, who admittedly doesn't have great potential. I think he's like a 78 potential. He's 22 years old and only 64 overall, but the Mariners really need shortstops. I mean, they're very, not very deep at the shortstop position in their system to start with. This guy would probably start off as being one of their better long-term options at shortstop right now. So it's a good start for them. And in addition to that, I am also going to send them Helcris Olivares. This is a guy who I had some high hopes for when we first started this franchise. Took quite a bit to develop. He hasn't quite turned into a stud that I'd hoped. Not a bad option. He's 23 years old and he's already a 70 overall, so you can work with this. But I like some of the options behind him. I got Howard, Derek Mullins, who's 21 and he's a 68 overall. I got 19 and a 67 overall, both lefties, both of them. I think higher potentials than Helcris Olivares. So I am happy to send him if it lands me somebody like a Tanner Scott. And then to put this trade over the top, I'm also going to send them Joel Lopez. This is another guy. He's a little bit older, 22 years old, with to only be a 58 overall. I think he's 80 potential. So this is, again, another guy to take in for that shortstop position for the Mariners. So I think is a trade that works for them, and I am quite happy with the return as well. So now that we have gone through some guys that are helping us this season, I want to try to dish away some of the guys that are kind of taking up space on our roster that we don't really have any use for, try to get some long-term players for us. And I'm working out I guess I call it a mini blockbuster trade. I'm going to be sending Nick Neidert, who has pitched pretty well in the majors this year. And I'm going to be sending Ryan Castellani, who has had a couple of good seasons for us in the majors in a long relief role and has pitched phenomenal in AAA this year. And then I'm going to be sending Patrick Wisdom because the guys that we acquired, I don't really have any use for Patrick Wisdom anymore. He's seriously struggling. But at a 75 overall, he's coming off of an amazing season last year. I think that he could help out a team in the midst of a rebuild, uh, give them some stability at a position, big bat in the middle of the lineup, and combined with Neidert and Castellani, could help out a team like, say, the Orioles. So for them, from the Orioles, I was really looking to acquire some guys with low overalls but good potentials, kind of get some upside guys. And I started with Amari Castro. Now, this guy, 18 years old, third base, left-handed bat, 6'2 overall. This is the big return in this one because he's already over 60. But I am really intrigued by this kid. So, in addition to that, I also went after Rafael Cabrera, who, as you can see, barely moves the meter up there because he's a 54 overall. This is a guy who's got some good power, decent fielding stats. Looks more like a left fielder with his abilities. I might switch him over to left field, switch hitter. So this is a guy, long-term development project. Maybe we can get something out of him, and he can become an everyday player for us, or maybe become some trade bait that we need at a later date. And then the final guy I added in to make this trade somewhat even is I went and I took Michael Hernandez. I'm pretty sure you would say that Michael, but I went to him. Now he's 21 years old and he's beat potential 6'4 overall. So it seems like, oh wow, dude, you're kind of fleecing them, right? Well, not really. When you look at the top the Royals have, it's insane. Couple of B potentials, 71 overall. They got a B potential, 78 overall in majors already. They got an A potential, 63 overall, 20 years old, right behind this kid. So this kid's pretty expendable. Kind of killing it at AAA or AA so far this year. So I'm kind of excited to get this. See that the Orioles actually still have some advantage in this trade. I may switch Nick Neidert back to a starting pitcher for them, so they'll use Neidert in a starting role. I don't know. Maybe I'll just let them use him in long relief. I don't know. I'll think about that, but I think that these two arms and Patrick Wisdom are people that can help the Orioles in the short term. Maybe turn into some trade chips for them later on to restock their farm system, maybe balance out the farm system in other ways. Okay. Now, I'm still looking to build our major league roster for this season, and I'm missing key piece. And what I'm really looking for is a bench bat that can play maybe a couple positions, but I want him to be a right-handed hitter that hits lefties well, and I need a little bit of speed on my bench in case I need to do some pinch running. And I looked around, and I found Nick Senzel, who has not played super great in this franchise at all, but I like his makeup. He can fit a role that I need him for. A guy that hits lefties really well, decent defender, plays multiple positions, got some speed, can steal a base. This is a guy that can help me out. And for the Reds, they have some young outfielders like Hannah, who we sent them last year, and Ciani, that they might want to try to get some playing time this season. So to get this deal done, I'm actually going to send them Lucas Gilbreth, whom, I was originally going to send them Robert Rodriguez as well, but I'm going to rethink this. I am overpaying because of just how good Lucas Gilbreth has been. I don't want to do that. I just want to do a straight one-for-one trade. I could send them Yohan Ibar, which would also work in a one-for-one trade, but I don't want to do that. I just think Ibar long-term, a little bit better option than Gilbreth, who's been just filthy this year. It might seem weird to trade Gilbreth, but I just acquired Scott. I can't send Ibar down because he's out of options, and I don't really want to keep three lefties in my pen. So to get a guy like Senzel, who also has a year left of arbitration, so I kind of like that. So I am willing to make this trade right there. Okay, now a couple more guys I want to deal. One of which is going to be Corey Ray, who now no longer has a role in this team. I could send him down to AAA, but I'd rather let him do right by the player, get him in the majors, get him some actual playing time, let him keep trying to prove his worth to the rest of the league. And I can send him to a team and get a little bit of value myself. And I'm going to send him to the Twins, who could honestly use him in the majors this year, and he could find himself in a starting role or at least in a bench role. And I am going to acquire Jim Frank, who is a 53 overall, potential 20 years old, shortstop, decent makeup, kind of like him. Looks a little bit more like a second baseman because he doesn't have super strong arm, but this is a guy just to kind of help stack my farm system up again a little bit with some B potentials. And then finally, the last guy that I am going to be trading is Yency Almonte. Could keep him around his bullpen depth, but, he's been very good at AAA, but I'm okay moving him. I got some guys that, for bullpen depth that kind of intrigue me, like a Jose Mujica, like a Robert Broom, and I might pick up like one or two guys on free agency as well. And I'm going to send them to a team that's actually competing this year in the Royals. They could use a little bit of bullpen help. So this guy, Almonte, is going to provide some depth for them. Also with some control left as well, could provide some long-term bullpen support as well. And I am going to be trading for Patrick Brown, this guy, 20 years old, 55 overall, P potential, starting pitcher. Kind of like those Ks per 9 number. Some concerns about stamina and pitching clutch, but I think that I can make it work with this kid. And I'm willing to make that trade for Yency Almonte. So that is going to be the end of the trades that I make. I think the only thing I'm going to try to do is I'm going to see if I can just really quickly. So Ryan Rollison is a 77 potential, which is actually already his overall. I'm going to move him up to a 90 potential. Let's just see if it works. So remember, he's a 77 potential. Let's see if I can then get this trade done for Brian Reynolds. Zach Veen. And then the last guy I was sending was Ronnie Mauricio. Okay. I'm wondering if Mauricio and Veen lost a little bit of potential. That's what caused the trade to fall through. But let's just see if I can get this done for Brian Reynolds. Okay, I'm gonna need to play around a little bit with this. Maybe I need to give them some different guys to make this work. But anyways, that is going to be the end of the episode. I will make sure that Brian Reynolds gets on this team. Maybe even I'll do one little extra trade where the Pirates an extra player or something like that, just to make sure that it's fair. But Brian Reynolds will be on the squad. I promise you that. So anyways, in the meantime, between time, guys, I hope you like the trades that we made. I am really excited to move forward with this. I'm not quite sure what our rank. We're moved up to 7th, but that's not finalized with all of our trades and all of our moves we need to make. So I'm excited. I think that we can turn this into a championship squad. So I'm out of here, and I hope you all enjoy your